Okay, so today we're on Unit 8.3. And we're going to talk about something called function notation. Function notation. Okay, so a function is basically, it's usually represented by a line. Okay, so usually a function is just a line. I'm sorry, yes, we're taking notes. Okay, so usually a function is represented by a line. Sorry, I didn't make that very good. Okay, so it's usually represented by a line. Okay, how do you know if something is a function? First off, how do you know if something is a function?
Not two x's.
They have all different x's.
They have all different x's, okay? So does this have all different x's?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we really want to check out every single point on here?
No.
Probably not, okay?
Eyeball.
But if it's, yes, okay? If it's just a straight line, you can use what's called what? Do you guys remember the vertical line test, okay? Vertical line test is basically just saying if you put a straight up and down line anywhere, okay, so I usually just use a pencil. If I put a straight up and down line, it will only touch one time. This would be a function because it would only touch one time, okay? The reason we have functions is because basically these are actually very useful in business, okay? Basically, and I went to business school, so unfortunately I know this all too well. You want to figure out, this is kind of like saying like, okay, let's say we have a business, okay? If a business selling pizzas, okay? If I sell this number of pizzas, I will make this amount of money, okay? If I sell this number of pizzas, I will make this amount of money. Would it ever be possible to sell a negative amount of things? It actually kind of is, because if you're giving them away, or let's say that DeAndre ate them, okay? I still have to pay for them, even though someone ate my product, okay? Or if my employees made them wrong, or, say it again? Or they fall on the ground, okay? So it is possible to sell negative, or to have zero product, okay? But I would still have to pay, so I'm losing money, okay? We want a function. A function tells me exactly, like, how much something would make, okay? So if I made 1, it might make that amount, okay? So that's why we use these functions. What would you usually call this kind of shape? This is usually a line, right? So how do you usually write the equation of a line? Y equals mx plus b, okay? Something being function notation. Function notation is basically just when we replace the y with f parentheses x, okay? And it can have different numbers in front of where the f is. It could be g or h. It can be any letter, okay? But we say this as f of x, okay? So if I make x amount of products, I will receive this amount as profits, okay? So what we are going to do today is your first instructions are going to tell you to evaluate the function. Evaluate the function for the given value, of x. Okay, so basically I'm telling you, I've come up with this formula. I've figured out my costs and my employees and whatever I'm making, okay? And I've figured out that to make X amount of products, it costs me 3x plus 4. Okay, so I've figured out there's a trend, and I've figured out if I want to figure out how much money I'm making or how much I'm spending or something like that, this is the formula, and I've figured this out, okay? You are not going to ever have to figure out the formula. I'm going to give you the formula. What I want you to do, though, is find it for f of negative 6. So this looks a little confusing because it has a lot of letters and stuff. All that you have to do, though, is take this number and plug it in to that equation for x. That is all you have to do, okay? So this becomes f of negative 6. So if I plug in negative 6, it becomes 3 times negative 6 plus 4. Then all you have to do is just work this out. So what is 3 times negative 6?
Negative 18.
Negative 18. And add 4. So that gives you, excuse me, gives you what? Thank you. Negative 14. So basically what this is telling you is somehow in my business I've figured out my cost of goods and I've figured out how much I have to pay my employees and all this stuff. So I know if I lose 6, okay, if I give away 6 pizzas, or if I feed them to you, or I drop them on the floor or something like this, I'm going to lose $14. That's all we're figuring out today is if I plug something into my equation, what will I get out of it? Okay, now, if I asked you for the domain, do you think the domain is the x's or the end result? Is domain the input or the output?
Input.
The input, okay? The output is called the what?
Range.
The range. Okay, so this would be the range, negative 6 would be the domain. Okay? Can anyone tell me why would you not want, or why is it not a function if I had something like this picture? Why is that not a function? Does anyone know?
Because it has repeating.
It has repeated x's, okay? Or let me show them to you right here. We agree that this is a repeat of x, right?
Yeah.
So basically, the reason it's not a function is because if I said that I sold 0, well, I wouldn't know if I would make this amount or this amount, okay? I want it to be predictable, and that's why functions are predictable, okay? So this function, if I make 0, I know that that's, or if I sell 0, I know that's exactly how much I'm going to make. Thank you. Okay, so functions have to be predictable. It can only have one output for each input. Okay, let's try another one. For number 2, okay, again, we're just going to evaluate the function. Okay, I want you to find f of 5, 6. So we say that, that's how we say that problem. F of 5, 6. If f of x is equal to 2x plus 1/3. You already knew that was for you. F of 5, 6 if f of x is equal to 2x plus 1/3. So all you have to do is we're just going to plug this in. So f of 5 over 6 is equal to 2. Now I'm going to plug in my 5 over 6, plug in the value that I'm given, plus 1/3. Now, do you think that you would ever have to, like if you had a business or something, do you ever think that you would need to use fractions?
Oh, maybe.
Is it, you think you would never have to use fractions?
You might.
What if this was like a recipe? I'm going to put in 5/6 the cup of flour. I'm going to figure out how many cookies is that going to make me. Why? Right, there's all different functions. So, oh, this is a new one. My pizza business, this was my pizza business. This is my cookie business. I'm going to figure out, I'm switching businesses here.
I'm not the chef anymore.
You're not the chef anymore because there's fractions involved?
Yeah.
Are fractions ever useful in like real life?
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Do none of you ever like, have you never made, I don't know, like a box of brownies or anything at home? You've never had to measure something.
Buy them frozen.
You buy them frozen. Okay. Have you ever? Well, I don't know what to say to that, okay? Fractions, whether you like them or not, you have to use them in your life probably, okay?
No, I disagree.
I'm sorry, but they're probably going to be useful in your life. Or you, maybe they're not useful, but you need to use them, okay? So, in this case, don't worry. The fractions are not going to kill you, okay? It's not Revenge of the Fractions here. What do I do to multiply 2 times 5 over 6? What's the smartest thing to do? Stop it, Coleman. What's the best thing to do if I'm going to multiply 2 fractions together? What do I want to try to do? Cross?
Multiply.
No.
Cancel.
Cancel. We want to reduce, okay? Can this 2 and this 6 reduce with each other?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
2 goes into 6. You get a 1 and a 3. Then, if we are multiplying fractions, you multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. 5 over 3 plus 1 over 3. How do you add together fractions?
A little bit 6 over 3.
Add the tops, leave the bottoms alone because these are already common denominators. So that becomes 6 over 3. And what does 6 over 3 reduce to be? Just 2. So look, in this recipe, I've figured out that if I put in 5, 6, let's say cups of flour, I get out 2 of my product. Okay, I'm going to say 2 cookies or something like that. Okay, say it again.
You put too much flour.
I put too much flour? Okay. Or, right. So these are something where, like, you know, hey, if this was a cookie recipe and it's linear, okay, you could figure out, hey, if I need to make a certain amount of cookies, how much do I have to put in? Okay? Fractions are going to be useful for you, whether or not you like it. Okay? You will need to use them, at least on this test, okay?
I'll use numbers, not math.
Okay, well, okay, fractions are numbers, friend. Hello, welcome to math. Fractions are numbers.
I'll use math 101.
Okay. Next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask you to choose 4 values of x. Choose 4 values of x. There are 4. To make a function table, choose 4 values of x to make a function table. Listen. Then state domain and range. Choose 4 values of x to make a function table, then state domain and range. Now, on your homework, all of these tables are already going to be drawn for you.
That's it?
Yeah, that's the instructions. Okay? On your homework, the tables are already going to be drawn for you, but right now I'm going to give it to you, so we're going to have to draw this. Okay? So for example, number 3, if I give you the equation f of x is equal to 4x minus 1. Okay? This is the formula that I've somehow come up with. Okay? But I want to figure out what's going to happen when I plug things into my formula. Okay? So if you were making, and we're not doing this right now, but if you were making a graph, what kind of values would you want to plug in? Would you want to plug in fractions, decimals, positives, negatives?
Positive.
Only positives?
And zero.
So if you wanted to figure out like how much money you're going to make, would you want to start at just the positive numbers?
Yes.
Really?
I don't want the money to be negative.
You don't, so you're just going to completely say, oh, my money can never be negative. Like, I am just always going to be profitable.
Yep.
I'm just going to never have any debt. Wouldn't you kind of want to know what would happen if you didn't make anything?
I'd be scared.
You probably need to know zeros. You probably need to know what happens if you, I don't know, lose something or feed your employees or break something.
Not feeding them, checking credit.
Okay, well, you have to, okay? So, in my function table, the way that function tables look is you need to put the x, you need to put the formula, and then you need to put f of x. What does x stand for here? That's the what? Starts with an I.
Input.
Input, okay? What does f of x stand for? The output, okay? So, we are going to pick 4 numbers to plug in here. I want to know a little bit what happens on the negative, so I'm going to plug in a -2. I definitely want to know what happens on the 0, and then 2 more numbers. So give me 2 more numbers. Do you think that might be easy?
2,
1.
4.
1, and what else?
2.
2. Okay, now let's think about this. Do I really want to plug in super big numbers? No, because that sounds like a lot of math that I don't need to do. Do I really want to plug in decimals? No. Do I really want to deal with fractions?
Yeah.
No. Simple numbers, okay? So, listen, usually, like on a test, you would be able to pick out whichever numbers you want to plug in. But for your homework, when it tells you to choose 4 values, I want you to choose those exact same 4 values so that when I give you the answers to your homework on Monday, we are plugging in the same thing. Because if you picked different numbers, you're not going to get the same answers that I will. Okay? It doesn't make them wrong. It just means that when I make the answer key, I want to know which numbers to plug in. So I'm telling you guys, we're always going to plug in these 4 numbers. Now you just have to plug them in. So we're going to do 4 times negative 2 minus 1. And I want you to actually work these out. So 4 times 0 minus 1. Oh my goodness, you can do it. So I want you to, on your paper, try to work those out. Like I said, on your homework, these tables are already going to be made for you. You just have to fill them in. Hopefully you left yourself a little bit of space to work this out. Okay, so when I do 4 times negative 2, what do I get? Javier. 4 times negative 2, what does that give me? 4 times negative 2. 4, negative 8. Minus 1. So negative 8 minus 1, what do I get for an answer, Jade? Jade. I'm sorry, Devin. That's your brother's name, sorry. Devin.
For
Negative 8 minus 1.
that would be 9. Negative 9.
Negative 9. Thank you. Okay, let's try another one. 4 times 0 minus 1. 4 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 1 gives me an answer of what, Damien? Negative 1. Okay, what happens when my input is 1? Input is 1, Cassie. Say it again. 4. Oh, so 4, then minus 1. I was looking for the f of x. So 4 minus 1 is 3. Okay. This one, 8 minus 1. What will my output be if I input 2? 7. Thank you. So, if I then ask you for domain and range. Okay, domain and range. What is the domain of this function?
Input.
Let's see. Delina, what's the domain of this function? Domain stands for the
Input.
input or the x's. So what did I input?
Negative 2, 0, 1, 2.
Perfect. Negative 2, 0, 1, and 2. And what is my output from my function? Okay. Negative 9,
Negative 1.
negative 1, 3, and 7. That's your answer. Okay, so you're going to have to fill in a table and then find domain and range. Do we have questions on how I did that? Yes, we have questions? No? Good, because we're going to do one more. Oh, you're going to be fine. Do one more. Oh my goodness. Okay, last one. I would like you to create a function table and then give me the domain and range of f of x equal to 5 minus 2x. So I own a business. I've come up with, this is my function. This is how much I'm going to make, or whatever. This is how much money I'm going to make. You tell me, pick 4 numbers and give me the input and the output. Okay, so I want you to create a function table. So for a function table, you're always going to have the x. You're going to write the formula and then write your output, which is f of x. Okay, so you need to pick 4 numbers, except that I told you which ones I want you to pick. So we're going to plug in negative 2, 0, 1, and 2. So you guys try to work this out, and then I'll call on people randomly to give me their outputs. Okay, so if I have an input of negative 2, what is my output, Adon? Input negative 2, what is my output going to be?
Negative 3.
No. Okay, so if we work this out, negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4, so 5 plus 4 gives me, Adon? 9. Thank you. Huh is not the answer I'm looking for. Okay. Now, let's try the next one. If I have an input of 0, what is my output, Sierra? Sierra? 5 minus 0.
Yep.
5! Good job!
Whoa.
Let's keep going. Yay! Okay, if I have an input of 1, what is my f of x? Kaylin, what'd you get for if I input 1? 5 minus 2 is 3. Okay, you guys are killing me today. And then input of 2, 5 minus, yay! Okay, so last thing, domain and range, okay? Domain here, write them from least to greatest, so -2, 0, 1, and 2. Range, I also want you to write from least to greatest. So this one is 1, 3, 5, and 9. Okay, do we have questions on how we did that? Let's hope not. Okay, now, homework on your worksheet, which is in your packet. Please make sure that you circle these. You are only doing on that worksheet numbers 3, 6, 7, 8, and 10 through 16. Okay, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 10, excuse me, through 16.